Hello and welcome to the 46th episode of Inside Music. I'm your host, James Shotwell, and I've got to be honest with you when I say that I really don't have the right way to start this episode figured out yet. I've tried about 7 or 8 times now, and it's getting kind of frustrating. I have a really great guest on the show today. About a year ago, I discovered this female singer-songwriter based out of Saskatchewan that I thought was just incredible. Her name is Eden Rohatensky. Some people may know her as Eden the Cat. She's also a member of Orphan Mothers and Jimmy and Eden. And I don't know what else to say. I fell in love right away. Eden has this very honest, unabashed style of songwriting that makes you feel like you know her personally. It's like hanging out with a good friend and catching up on everything that's been going on since the last time you met. I reached out to Eden as soon as I discovered her music, and we tried to make this podcast happen for the better part of the last year, but due to a number of scheduling conflicts from work to music, projects on either side of the fence, we just couldn't make it happen until a couple of weeks ago. And I'm glad that we did. I think the conversation that we had is an important one and one that we need to have today because Eden is an artist who's come up entirely in the digital age. The vast majority of her fans discovered her through the internet and they enjoy her solely through the internet. She doesn't tour that much outside of her region in Canada where she lives, and she definitely hasn't been able to tour in the United States or Europe or anywhere else just yet. She hopes to get there one day, but right now she's still working on all that. She has a ton of musical projects, as you already know, which we talk about during the podcast. And she's really just trying to express herself in as many ways as possible. She's a highly creative person, and as somebody who enjoys the various projects she has, I think that, it's good what she's doing right now. There are artists who are meant to release a couple of songs, hit the road, and tour for the rest of their lives. And there are other artists who just simply have more to say. They have so much that they need to say and so much they want to create that getting on the road and touring 24/7 simply isn't a priority. Creating is. And I think that that's the case with Eden, at least at this point in her career. In this episode, we talk about how Eden got her start in music. We talk about her various projects. We talk about the scene in Canada, the music scene, that is. And we also talk about simply being a digital artist today. We talk about the struggles that come along with that. We talk about what it's like when you have to release an album on Friday and you promote all week, the album drops on Friday, and then social media goes dead over the weekend and you have a new album that's really hard to promote. These are the struggles that digital artists face all the time, and Eden is one of the artists that I feel is right on the cusp of breaking through to being something so much bigger if she can just get over that last little hump in the road. Hopefully this podcast does that, but if not, at least all of you listening at home will have a chance to discover her music. I'm a gigantic fan. I cannot say that enough, and I hope that all of you at least give her music a chance after you listen to this podcast. Before we get to the conversation, I need to tell you that this episode of Inside Music is brought to you by Holix, the internet's leading digital distribution platform. Whether you're looking to get your music in front of the press or you need a little help fighting piracy, Holix has the tools you need. If you'd like more information on Holix and access to a free 30-day trial, you can visit www.holix.com. That's www.holix.com. I also want to tell you that you should check out the podcast on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @InsideMusicPod. That's Inside Music Pod, and we post updates on the upcoming guests as well as some bonus highlights from the episodes, things that might have gotten cut or things that we discussed that maybe we couldn't run yet. We kind of tease. It's a good place. We have some good conversation, and there's a lot of good followers. Melissa Joan Hart just followed. It's probably not her. It's probably one of her assistants, but you know what it's like. So yeah, check out Inside Music online. Check out the blog, www.holixdaily.com. That's HAULIX daily.com. And stay in tune with everything we have going on. What we have going, Holix is a lot more than this podcast, and I write a lot more about the music industry than simply talking about the conversations we have here on the podcast, and we'd love to have you join us in those debates. Right now, though, I want to introduce you to Eden. So without further ado, I'm going to play a little music, and then we'll get to the show. Thank you for listening.
Got a chip on my shoulder, it'll break quite soon if I don't let it heal, if I keep talking to you. And it connects to my arms and to my feeble hands. Oh, I must make amends, oh, I must make amends. And I'll lose my job, then I'll lose my will. Oh, it's all downhill, oh, it's all downhill. Tell me, is this love destroying me? Or tell me it's just anxiety. And I'll be fine. Oh, night after night. I've got an idea, it's probably no good, but if I don't say it out loud, then it never could.
So how are things in Canada today?
They're pretty good. I am currently at my best friend's and bandmate's house, Sunny. We had a girls' night last night, and then this morning I woke up to two cats climbing all over me, and then went upstairs and there was a cat waiting for me at the door. It's just been a lot of cats.
Did you say, I see you say on Twitter you're allergic to cats?
I am actually, I'm not super allergic. Like, I don't have to go to the hospital because of cat allergy ever. But I get like red eyes and stuff if I get cat in my face. Like if I go and pet a cat and then like scratch my eye, or if a cat decides to sit like right on my chest, I get a little itchy. But it's not like enough to keep me away from cats, but it's enough to keep me from owning one while I'm still living in smaller apartments.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I have two cats here at the apartment that are all over me as well. But I used to be allergic to them really bad when I was younger, and then at some point I just kind of like grew out of it, I guess.
Yeah, I grew up with cats. Like my first word was kitty. We had two cats when I was born, and then we had another cat later on when I was around 11 or 12. So I've had cats all of my childhood life, and like they never really bothered me. And then I moved out when I was 17, and since then my cat allergy just like kind of took off. I think it's mostly just not being used to them.
Yeah, no, I could totally see that. So is that where Eden the cat comes from? Is your first words?
No, it kind of just rolls off the tongue. It was a bit of an inside joke that I don't necessarily want to put on the internet.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just a lot easier to say than Eden Rohatensky for a lot of people. And I used to go by Eden Hearts because I thought that it sounded funny because it sounds like eating hearts. Um, but then I just decided one day to change it up, and Eden the cat just seemed to make the most sense for some reason.
I feel like Eden Hearts would be the best like metal side project name for you.
Well, I had that, and then this like South African rapper whose name was actually Eden Hearts started like appearing in a bunch of my feeds and stuff, and I guess he had like some modicum of MySpace fame, and that's when I decided to change it. Was there was this South African rapper using that name?
Ugh, stupid global artist at base.
Yeah.
I like the mention of MySpace fame. I still talk about MySpace fame because I sometimes when I hear a band name or something, I'll be like, "Oh, they were big in the MySpace days. Like that used to mean something."
It did mean something. Like how many bands now can say that they were in, 40 people's top 8?
Exactly. I miss top eights.
I do
Sometimes.
too in a way. But
Yeah.
at the same time it's kind of nice to be like very distributed the way that Twitter is and stuff, in comparison to, I don't know, showcasing the friends that you have.
Look at how cool I am.
Ooh.
Yeah, and all the people know. So for I'm guessing a lot of people, some people listening will obviously know of you and know of your music, but my hope is that a lot of people will tune in that haven't heard it because they listen to the other episodes of the podcast. And I don't know, I want to get a little bit of the backstory of your whole love affair with music, I guess is a good way to put it. Because I assume that there are a lot of people out there who, like me, will maybe just check you out on a chance, on a whim, and be curious about more. Because that's kind of how I discovered you, is just trolling Bandcamp and being like, oh, what is this? Because of your amazing cover art for Amateur. I was like, I need more. I don't know what this is, but like, click.
Yeah. Yeah, that cover art did what I was hoping it would do. But yeah, I started playing music when I was 13. I started writing before that, but that was when I got my first guitar. And I took lessons for about 2 months before they kicked me out because I kept going and writing my own songs instead of practicing the ones that they wanted me to learn, which wasn't great for my guitar playing, and probably the reason that up until kind of recently, all of my guitar playing has been extremely simple. Um, So I did that, and then I kind of took a break throughout high school. I still wrote songs, but I didn't really do much with them. And then I played my first show when I was 17, right before I moved for college, um, and kept kind of playing here and there as a solo artist. I went by Eden Rohatensky at the time still. And then eventually I met my former bandmate, Jerry Shen, and we formed Eden and Escrow with Cassandra Laustel and Ryan Bennett. And we released an EP called Hobbies in 2012, I think. And that was my first release. And then I still played a little bit, but then it kind of wavered. We ended up recording a full length in a studio that went and kind of ended up in purgatory because the studio closed down and all this stuff. So it's still not out. I don't know if it'll ever be released because it's gotten to the point that it's so old that I'm like I cringe looking at the writing of those songs and stuff, even though some of them are pretty good. But and then out of that frustration and just feeling like I wasn't doing enough, I kind of I had started Orphan Mothers, but we had only released one single and we were only playing shows every now and then. And then I got like just frustrated with the lack of productivity when it came to music for me over those 3 years. And I decided to sit down one day while I was at my mom's house and I recorded Amateur. And I spent, I think, 3 days writing and recording it. And then did some work on like releasing it. And I had those pictures done beforehand with the idea that I was thinking about doing an album release sometime soon, but more so that my friend Sabrina just kind of wanted to try out a certain style of photography, and we I got it all together and I released it within a week from the first day I started recording and writing it, and then I kind of just went hog wild for the past year. I guess it's just over a year now because Amateur was released September 5th of 2014.
Oh, wow,
so,
yeah. I didn't realize it'd been a year already.
Yeah, I looked at Time Hop this morning, and I guess it's been a year today since the release of the music video for Ghost, which was the single that I released for that album, and it was just like, oh, whoa. It's kind of weird because in a way it feels like a really long time because since then I've released Orphan Mother's Hindsight and I've done guest vocals on a bunch of things and I've played probably 100 shows at this point, and then I released a new EP on August 28th, and have been working on a new full length and a new Orphan Mother's full length. So it feels like there's been a lot of time, but at the same time it's just like that feels not too far away.
Yeah, no, I get it. It has kind of been like a snowball for you since like that record came out, though.
Yeah, very much so. It was kind of like a catalyst to me, like sitting down and like actually, learning about music. In that, like I wrote songs for a long time and stuff, but I never really learned any theory. I never really learned anything beyond songwriting and lyric writing, and then basic chord structures to support that. And then when I had Eden and Escrow, that became like my backing band, and I let them worry about that stuff, and I let somebody else worry about recording and production. And then even with the Orphan Mothers, when we first started, it was like John was the music and I was the lyrics and the vocals, and now that is pretty quickly changing with the new stuff that we're working on. We're both doing lyrics and vocals, and we're both doing production, and I'm playing a lot of guitar in the new stuff. So it's just kind of been one of those things where it's like, oh, I can do this thing, and it's fun and it's expressive and it's different, and I don't have to look at a screen to necessarily do it. And yeah, it's been fun.
No, it seems like you're having a good time, anyways. It'd be weird if you waited till like just this moment to talk about how miserable it all had made you.
I mean, at times it did make me pretty miserable, but Like, Amateur is a pretty miserable record.
I mean, I
Um,
wasn't gonna just lead it that way, but it can be a downer.
and I mean, the latest EP is kind of sarcastic in ways.
Yeah.
Um, I think I write to deal with depression and anxiety, and right before Amateur, I had gotten out of a 5.5 year long relationship about a month before that, and I had just started this job, and like I was just my podcast was just starting to do well, and like all these kind of things were just changing to the point that like I didn't really recognize my own life, and I didn't really know how to navigate that. And I think that's what Amateur is kind of reflecting. Obviously in the name too. As much as I told everyone that it was about nachos, it was very much so okay, let's sit down and figure out what our feelings are and put them out there for the entire world to see.
I mean, I like thinking that it's kind of a combination of the both. Like that's just really how you feel about nachos. You've got some complex emotions about it, and you're just being honest.
I mean, it's true. I really like nachos, and but sometimes they just break my heart, and sometimes they just confuse me.
Yeah. Sometimes
And
they don't hit the spot the way you think they're going to.
no, and sometimes it's just really hard to find nachos that you could, spend your life with.
Yeah, it's really hard to wake up every day and want the same nachos.
It's extremely hard. Sometimes you just want variety.
So let's talk a little. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the difference between what you write, how you write for Eden the Cat, and how you write for Orphan Mothers, because the songs are so different. And obviously, you have a little bit of you have a collaborative partner on Orphan Mothers. So how much is his influence part of like how the songs kind of take shape?
Mm, I think the way that I write for Eden the Cat is I sit down and I play guitar and or I play keyboard now or I do something until I have a melody, and then I kind of work lyrics into it and shape the song around it, and I have a lot more muscle to manipulate things, so there's like a little bit more of a big open space that I can do whatever in, and that's great, and it means that I have like a way to express myself, but it also means that there's so many options, and that kind of limits me in ways. And so a lot of the times like I'll find myself repeating myself, and then I'll like work things into it. But with Orphan Mothers, generally John will send me a beat. Or the way we wrote Hindsight is a lot different from how this upcoming album that's going to hopefully be out in fall of next year um, is being written. In that, like with Hindsight, Towers like was the first song we wrote together, and it was kind of a let's see if we can actually make this a thing. John sent me a beat. I wrote lyrics to the beat. I sent it back to him, and then he wrote the guitar parts out, and then we arranged it together, and then we recorded it. Um, and then that was kind of how it worked out, with the exception of Start, which was an a cappella song that I wrote originally. Um, and Take or Give a Little was like I had the hook and then we fleshed it out. The main thing is that with Orphan Mothers is that I have somebody to iterate with, and who gives me feedback and who has ideas that they can put into it too. Um, but like lyrically, I feel very similar about the songs that I write for Orphan Mothers and Eden the Cat, and Witch Lips too. They come to me, I guess, or like I write lyrics in a very similar way. I write very quickly. Um, Most of the songs that you'll hear that are written by me were written within a span of 30 minutes lyric wise, because I find that that is the best way to be a little bit more raw and expressive and kind of write what I'm thinking. Um, but yeah, and that's definitely like changed over time. Whereas like with Orphan Mothers, or Witch Lips even, I'm inputting a lot more instrumentally, and so I'm finding that my lyrics are becoming maybe more simple or a little bit more thought out. just because I have a different input into the song as well. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, no, no. It totally does. Totally does. You're fine. Don't worry. I know sometimes like you start talking and you're like, oh, I've been talking for a while. Am I making a point still? Or am we still? No, you're doing fine. Don't worry. You're good. It's great.
Okay, good.
It makes sense. The quick songwriting kind of makes sense because there is almost, especially on the recent Eden the Cat EP, the Live in a Basement. There's definitely a very off the cuff feel to it all, where it's just like it almost seems like it's coming off the top of your head, and that's kind of what I love about it is the honesty. You get the sense that it's so honest to the point where maybe you aren't 100% sure it should be out there, but you're getting it off your chest anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to a friend the other day, especially in regards to Twitter, um, in that and social media in general, in that I'm a fairly uncurated person. Um, and so, I know that I have like songs that are weaker, and I know that I have tweets that are weaker and Instagram photos that are weaker and all that stuff, but those are all things that are really reflective of who I am right now or in the moment that I put that out there. Live in a Basement and Apartment, it was interesting because I felt that it did come off as way more off the cuff than Amateur did. But those songs were written, like I wrote Teens in November ish of last year, and I wrote um, the most recent song was probably, now I'm forgetting what songs I put on there, but I think, yeah, like Fraud was in the middle of winter, and they were songs that were written over a span of almost a year.
Oh.
And so it was kind of just this like strange thing where um, it did like it. I think maybe just the way that I recorded it too, that it did come off that way, and it's interesting to hear that.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's just interesting to hear the songs were written for so long. Shithead's really the one that pops off is like, oh, no chill.
No, I wrote that in a period of definite no chill.
I like that.
Definitely like oh God, I am making a lot of mistakes as a single person.
Yeah, that's a realization you have as a human a few times.
Yeah.
But it's not often the kind of thing that people share, and that's what I love about it is there's like this unabashed honesty to it where it's just like I feel like, at least in my case, I connect with it because I feel like it's so raw where it's like there's no sugarcoating this, like this is how it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's the funny thing is that I think Shithead, I wrote it to be extremely cutesy at the same time. And so it's just like when I wrote that, I giggled at it like in a way that I was almost being patronizing to myself. Because it's just like it's a really stupid song, but it makes, I think it makes a point. I don't know.
I think anyone that's like into their 20s will be able to relate to it in some way. Unless they've been like high school sweethearts dating that entire time.
Oh boy.
Yeah, then they have their whole own set of things that you just can't touch on. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you're working on new material. So I guess what comes first for you at this point? Is there like a priorityness to it in the Cat versus Orphan Mothers, or is it as stuff comes to you? How do you kind of prioritize your music?
It's kind of as stuff comes to me and as John's available. So right now, we just sat down day before yesterday, me and John, and made a plan for what we're doing over the next year and how we're going to approach, where we play shows, how we tour, what we're doing to lead up to doing this full length release. And I think for that band, we take it in a much more like traditional success way where we'd like to do showcasing in festivals and stuff, but at the same time we both are full-time employed people who also have like 6 other music projects. uh, John plays in Nick Faye and the Deputies and Wuzzo, which I used to be a part of. And then he's also a music teacher, and he also plays in the Bureau, which is a backing band for hip hop artists slash a cool jazz hip hop thing. Like he's doing a million things just like I am. And so Orphan Mothers, the way that it works for us is that we come at it as we can and when it feels right. And over this past month, it has felt right. And we're sitting down to make the first like solid effort at writing this record at the end of the month here, coming up. But for like Eden the Cat, I usually will I'll either start thinking around on my keyboard or on my guitar. Funny Women, which is the album that I delayed to next year, it's not just acoustic, and so it's been a lot of like, oh, I'm learning Ableton. Okay, I'm learning how to make this beat. Okay, I made this beat. Can I put a guitar thing on top of it? Okay, cool. Okay, this sounds nice. Let's write some lyrics. Or it'll be, I have a thing stuck in my head. I'm going to put it down and see what happens with it. And then eventually things just kind of come together, and I notice like a theme. Like, for example, when I released Live in a Basement Apartment, those are all songs that like I kind of wrote with the thought that they'd be on Funny Women, but they just didn't fit with how everything else was coming together. And so that's why I made that EP. Because I like those songs still, but they're just not right for that album. So it's like it's completely piecemeal and like really hard to like boil down to like how it happens, I guess.
No, that's fine. It's always hard when you like ask a magician to be like, tell me about the tricks without giving it all away. It's hard. You touched on this a second ago, and I did want to get to it because it's as somebody in the States, it's something I think about all the time. But as you get more and more into music and you're doing more and more releases, I assume that you're wanting more and more to get out and play for people.
Yeah.
So I know that you do play a lot in Saskatchewan where you're from, but like, how has it been getting outside of Saskatchewan or breaking even into the States with touring?
So for touring, like I think like I'd like to do a cross Canada tour soon. The only problem is I struggle with bipolar disease and I don't really want to go out alone. So I would have to find either a backing band or somebody to go with. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, I got in a car accident like 6 months ago. And so I haven't been driving since then just because of numerous reasons.
Yeah.
And so like that's limited that. But I think that that's going to be happening soon, at least within Canada. And to do the States, like it's a little bit more difficult because like you need a visa for one. And so that's like $400 and then your travel and then all that. So it would have to be like, I'd have to get a grant and I'd have to probably find a booking agent because, it's a large undertaking. But it's definitely something that I'm looking into doing as soon as possible. Probably like I've definitely been looking for help with that recently because now that I work as an independent contractor, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, I've done the independent contracting thing. It does open up a few opportunities.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask about it because I understand the two country thing pretty well, but I assume that you do have a lot of fans probably in the U.S. and other places that are like, when are you going to come here? And it's not really as simple as like, let's just cross the border and go play shows.
Yeah, no, it's a big deal. Like even if you have a visa, a lot of the time they'll check you at the border and refuse you, and like it's one of those things where it's like that's a huge undertaking, never like financially and planning wise, and just time wise. So it's one of those things that I would really like to do as soon as I can balance it with the 1 million other things I'm doing right now.
Yeah, you are a Renaissance woman of sorts. You do a little bit of everything.
I feel like I do a lot of everything.
Oh, well, I was trying to be humble about it, but fine. You do a lot of everything.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not, like, that's not me trying to be...
Oh, no, I'm just joking around with you.
Sickle, but it's more like, me realizing that I have been in this state for the past like 3 weeks of realizing that I really do need to cut back and focus a bit more if I want any of these projects, whether it be my music projects or my coding projects or my illustration or, the children's book I started writing that I never released or the podcast or whatever it is. It's just like, yeah,
You gotta
should probably figure that out. I've
focus
been a
it a
little
bit.
bit of a nut.
Well, I mean, I get it though, because I feel that way sometimes about a lot of things. It's weird when you feel because I want to do a little bit of it. I want to do everything, and then I think as the older you get, you realize like if you're gonna like do any of it really well, you gotta learn how to focus some of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to be the person that does everything. I'm never going to be happy if I'm just doing one thing, and I know that. I've always been that way. But yeah, definitely don't need to do. Right now I have Witch Lips, Orphan Mothers, Eden the Cat and the Nips, and then another new project that keeping kind of close to my heart right now. So that's 5 projects, and they're all actively writing and playing shows. So it's just like, uh, what am I doing?
You're being creative.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we'll say that.
you're expressing yourself a lot.
A lot. Yeah, expressing myself all over the place.
I don't. Yeah, I'm somebody that keeps up with it, and you know that I enjoy everything you do, and I don't even think I've heard Witch Lips.
We haven't released
Well,
anything.
there you go. See, so at least I'm not crazy because I was like, did I go into this and like totally miss something?
No, that's my rock band. Who that I play with Sunny Adams and Amber. Her last name is impossible to remember, so she goes by Amber Peanut Butter. Um, and yeah, it's a very vulgar, um, somewhat Riot Girl esque rock band, and we sing about our vaginas and poop and getting drunk and having fun.
I love it. It seems like Orphan Mothers can be like the most ambiguous or subtle of all of your songwriting efforts, and then everything else, it's an increasing level of just honesty or like in your face unabashedness, and I love it because, and I like that. It's strange that Orphan Mothers can seem so restrained in comparison.
Well, Orphan Mothers is very, um, very specifically pop music, and it has a direction. We have when we are writing, we kind of have a tone that we want to convey, and it's kind of funny because like me and John were talking about what this new record was going to be, and he started going off on, well, if hindsight was purple, this next one's going to be teal. And I was like, no, it's going to be teal, but with like specks of gold. And he completely agreed with me. Like, it's just like this weird thing where it was like, we both kind of know what we want to create. And so there's like definite, it's not a compromise, but there's like something we fall in between what we want to do sonically and how I want like what words I want to convey in the songs. I think, to be honest, though, like Orphan, like Hindsight, um, it was for the most part about like a single relationship that I was kind of partaking in, and it was a lot less self-reflective. um, and my bandmate Sunny just dropped a bunch of granola bars on her face.
Oh, it's okay.
But yeah, like Orphan Mothers is a lot less self-reflective over being kind of a storytelling type thing, whereas Eden the Cat is so extremely full of herself and self-involved.
No, I wouldn't go that far, but I like that. I appreciate that. That's how you frame it. Well, someone did ask us online that I should ask you about the local artists that inspire you and why. So I feel like we have to ask because it was tweeted at us.
Okay. So my favorite local bands right now would be, I really love the Steves, and a lot of them are my really close friends. 2 of the members play in my band, The Nips, and they released a record called No Solos recently. It's not a record; it's a cassette. But that was it's fronted by my friend Piper, whose music is just like so extremely simple and like catchy at the same time while being extremely garage rock. And I definitely think people should check it out. It'll get stuck in your head very easily. Um, Rah Rah, they just released a new album called Vessels, and they are kind of a pop rock band. Their last album, though, is one of my favorite albums, The Poet's Dead. It's just extremely beautiful and well written and interesting and uplifting in ways that just kind of, I've definitely had a lot of dance parties in my apartment listening to Rah Rah. Who else? I let's see. Out of Saskatoon, there's the Three Ninjasks, which is a band made from my friend Jeremy Kiss and two other dudes that I can't remember the names of right now. But they play with their DSs, which they have like a Casio plugin for, and so they're all just sitting there in front of everyone wearing these weird masks, playing DS to make this like amazingly beautiful meaty type music, and it's just gorgeous. And we've played a few shows with them, and I've gotten to see them a few times. And Pontex, which is formerly known as Mario Lepage's band, and it's a francophone band for the most part. That's just got this combination of rock and roll and kind of ethereal synth pads and dancing, and I really love that so much.
No, I like those suggestions. Those are good suggestions. I definitely I've heard of some of them because after I discovered your music, I kind of dug into the Saskatchewan scene. You guys have a very, very like vibrant music scene up there.
We do. There was probably a point where it was like a little bit less vibrant, but lately it feels like every single person I know in Saskatchewan is in at least four bands,
All
and
right.
we're all doing stuff. And there's definitely like almost in Regina, anyways. There's definitely shows like at least 5 nights, not 5 nights out of the week. No, 5 to 7 nights out of the week. Like there's always somebody playing and somebody really good playing.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. I know you talked that your new Eden the Cat album is going to be delayed till next year, but for people that do want to keep up with what you're up to this fall and winter, what do you have going on between now and the end of 2015?
I am mostly sitting down to write and hopefully going to go and play some shows in some different cities. Um, and then, I'm hoping to maybe do another 30 days, 30 covers project soon. But I am letting myself have a little bit of a releasing break, given that over the past year, I feel like I've released enough songs and people are going to get worn out on me pretty quick.
No, you keep it fresh. You mix it up.
Thanks.
Well, you've got me as a fan. I'm sure after this you'll pull in some more. I'm excited to hear the new material for both projects. You've told me a little bit about both of them now for a while, and I feel like I'm always on the cusp of knowing what you're up to next, but I never know when it's going to arrive, so I'm just waiting with everyone else. But I'm excited for it, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about all that you do. We've never actually gotten to speak for now, so people actually got to hear a first-time conversation. Bonus.
Yeah. Thank you so much, James. I really enjoyed talking to you.
No, I enjoy talking to you as well. Before we go, where should people keep up with you? Just Twitter? Is that where you prefer?
Twitter. I also have a Facebook page that I try to keep updated, where you can just look up Eden the Cat. And yeah, I'm Eden the Cat on Twitter. My band is Orphan Mothers, and you can find me everywhere on the internet.
Does Witch Lips have a page people should check out?
Yeah, we have a Twitter. It's at lips_witch.
Okay.
And mostly it's just like really dumb, vulgar jokes, which
good.
is completely expected.
All right, fair enough. So there you go. A little bit of everything depending on what style of Eden Rohatensky you want. You have a great day and a great weekend, Eden.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks so much.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye.